Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the one and only Hosting Cruz, bringing you another exciting edition of boxing. Don't forget to hit and to like, subscribe to my channel. It's always greatly appreciated. Stay tuned. Miracle Boy Boxing. I'm your host, Hosting Cruz, and Jake Paul once again comes out victorious in a fixed fight or fight, whatever you want to call it. Jake Paul fights. A lot of people don't give him not 1 ounce of credit. So much that they think every fight is fixed. And Jake Paul, man, you gotta give him credit. He's a smart kid. He picks his fights wisely, man. Yes, he chooses big names like Mike Tyson, Anderson Silva, like tonight, Julio, Cesar, Chavez Jr. But these guys are over the hill. Jake Paul has not been in there with a fighter that's in his prime, his age, ranked, a contender, a former world champion that's still in there, that's active and not old. Jake Paul has not been in there with anyone like that yet in his career. The only one he's been in there with was Tommy Fury, but Tommy Fury ain't really a thing. He's not no world beater, you know. Jake Paul needs to step in the ring with guys like, top 10 fighters. He says he wants to be a world champion. He wants to take the sport of boxing serious, but he cannot take boxing serious if he keeps jumping in there with 58-year-old Mike Tyson and fighters over 40 years old or 40 and hasn't been the same since in years, like Chavez Jr. And tonight, we all saw it. Jake Paul won by unanimous decision. The last 2 rounds, Chavez Jr. started to let his hands go, and he won those last 2 rounds. Those last 2 rounds reminded me of Chavez Jr. back in 2011 and 2012, the nostalgia during those 2 rounds. And I said if Chavez Jr. had let his hands go more, he would have beaten Jake Paul. At 39 years old, Chavez Jr. showed that he can still fight. Those last 2 rounds, showed me something. But he did it too late. He should have done that earlier on in the fight. I'm sure Chavez Jr. would have had a chance to beat Jake Paul, but it was what it was. He did not pull the trigger early, and he allowed Jake to get away. So yeah, Jake Paul, he's known for making Amanda Serrano a very rich woman. Amanda Serrano was fighting for chump change prior to meeting Jake Paul. Jake Paul signed Amanda, has made her millions in her career. I give him respect to it all the time and what he's done for boxing and women's boxing for Amanda. And just everything he's done in Puerto Rico, building and opening boxing gyms around the country, around the island, give him respect to it. But in terms of boxer, fighting basketball players like Nate Robinson and bare knuckle fighters and 58-year-old Mike Tyson and Chavez Jr., who hasn't been the same fighter since 2011, 2012, hasn't really been anything really since then. Anderson Silva, UFC legend. Tyron Woodley. So fighting those fighters at that point of their careers, their fighting careers, you're not going to get any respect of it. Everyone is waiting for Jake Paul to step in there with a guy in his prime, and we haven't seen since. If he wants to take boxing serious and become world champion, he's going to have to start fighting top 10. This fight was a cruiserweight? So if Jake Paul is fighting a cruiserweight, then he needs to fight guys like Badu Jack, Zurdo Ramirez, who recently won his fight. In the co-main event against Junel Dorticos de Cuba or Jai Opetaia. Imagine Jake Paul in there with Jai Opetaia, the IBF Cruiserweight Champion of the world. Imagine Jake Paul in there with Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. Imagine Jake Paul in there with Badu Jack. And Badu Jack is at an age where Jake Paul likes to choose and pick fighters at, in their 40s or early 40s or late 30s. Badu Jack is 41 years old, the current WBC World Champion, Cruiserweight Champion, and Jake Paul will not beat Badu Jack. Badu Jack will beat him. Badu Jack is still world class at his age. That's a dangerous fight for Jake Paul. So if Jake Paul wants to be world champion in the weight class that he's in it, he's going to have a hard time doing it because Zurdo Ramirez, Badu Jack, and Jai Opetaia are nothing to play with. Those three fighters are capable of giving him a reality check pretty quick. But I don't expect Jake Paul to go that route. I expect Jake Paul to continue what he's doing. He's a smart kid. He's going to continue to make millions of dollars. He's going to keep choosing these fighters that are names, but are no longer really relevant. That's my take, man. I mean, Chavez Jr. did not let his hands go enough. You know, it was a 10 round. For the first 8 rounds, Jr. just kind of stood there with his hands up, not really doing much until the 9th and 10th round, where he just started to let his hands go all of a sudden. Body shots, head shots, reminded me of, he brought me back to 2011, 2012 when he was WBC middleweight champion of the world, and I was like, man, if Junior had let his hands go earlier on, he would have beaten Jake Paul. But it was what it was. You know, Jake Paul continues on in his career. 12-1. Now, if you ask me if Jake Paul has sharpened his craft and, you know, improved, yeah, Jake Paul tonight against Chavez displayed a lot of boxing. You know, he kept the distance. He popped his jab throughout the fight. Nice jab, nice 1-2s. He held when he needed to held. He fought a smart fight, but like all the time, he faded. He gassed out. He cannot gas out. That's the thing. If you want to be world champion, he cannot gas out with Badu Jack. He cannot gas out with Jai Opetaia, and he cannot gas out with Julio Ramirez. Those fighters, those world champions, will see that and will do what Chavez did in the last 2 rounds, which is pour it on him, let their hands go. And try to afford to stop it, because Jake Paul cannot afford to get tired against those fighters. This was a 39-year-old Chavez Jr. Imagine if it was back in the day, 26-year-old Chavez Jr., middleweight champion of the world. So yeah, it is what it is, man. Jake Paul, with a unanimous decision win over Chavez Jr. A lot of people didn't expect Chavez Jr. to come in there tonight and win the fight, much less me. And I'm a big Chavez Jr. fan. And the results was really expected. Jake Paul defeating Chavez Jr. Yes, the last 2 rounds for Chavez Jr. was a nostalgia, but it was not enough. He won them, but it was not enough. Jake Paul had already banked the first 8 rounds, so you gotta give it to him. So yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about Jake Paul's performance. Let me know what you guys think about Chavez Jr.'s performance. Where does both fighters go from here? I say Jake Paul continues to do what he does, man. Fight names that are old, washed up fighters. And Chavez Jr. said he wants to continue fighting. And he showed me that he can continue fighting. You know, the last 2 rounds, he showed me that he can continue fighting. You know, he did not. Chavez Jr. was not tired. Those last 2 rounds, he showed a sense of urgency. And Yeah, but if you ask me, can Chavez Jr. become world champion once again? Nah, those days are done. I feel he can still compete with a top 10 in the weight class, but we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't expect much of Chavez Jr. either going forward. You know. So yeah, Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host and crew. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, as it is always a pleasure to talk to you guys about boxing. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.